Okay, so um, today I think we're gonna start a series of homesteading videos. Been meaning to do that for a while now. That was kind of the whole purpose of the YouTube videos is to start a homesteading series because that's what it's all about: is modern homesteading and modern mountain manning and so forth. But one of the keys to that is like most people think we'll start get right into the building a house and taking land, all that stuff. First thing you got to do before you even go and get land and start doing that is determine what kind of homestead you're going to have. What are you going to produce at your homestead? Because that's one of the key factors of maintaining a homestead. You got to produce some goods and services. You got to think about it. You're living in a city, a marketplace. Those goods and services are produced by a producer, a corporation or something right now. So you're relying on a corporation to employ you to do all that. But we'll get the details of that later. But today we're going to start with the first initial thing you need to do before you go homestead, which I highly recommend before you start homesteading, even buying land or anything like that, is to determine what kind of goods and services you want to produce on your homestead. You know what I mean? And then decide, and before you even go that far, what kind of goods and produces you want to produce on your homestead. Start doing that in your town right now before you even leave the city to strike out into the wilderness or into rural America and buy land for a homestead. Get that all established or something going before you even take off. You know what I mean? And I kind of interjected myself there and fucked up my thought, but I always want to get that key point in there. You want to do that before you get out to homesteading, because homesteading, depending on your level of expectations and amenities and stuff like that, it takes some initial capital and some capital to maintain your progress and improving your homestead and building your homestead. You see what I'm saying? So you can't go into it as well, I'm just gonna go buy some land and start building. Because you gotta think about how are you gonna maintain this homestead? Are you gonna go work in a city and then you're taking along? I mean, it gets to be silly then. The whole point of a modern homestead is to provide goods and services in excess, so you can take to a marketplace that's local or even a big city and sell those goods and services, and even online. Because right now we're moving away from brick and mortar places and going into more online setups. So you want to have that in mind before you even go buy land. That way, if you want to grow oranges or you want to grow some kind of citrus fruit or do something that's requires that kind of environment, then you want to get a homestead in that kind of environment. You don't want to strike out on a homestead in the middle of the mountains and you're looking to grow citrus fruit or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not just make sure your products and services are conducive with where your location is, because you want to have the maximum bang per buck and return on investment for your homestead conducive with what you're doing. You know what I mean? So decide that first. Start doing it in your hometown or your city you're living in now before you go buy property somewhere. That way you can get ideas like, do I really want to do this? Because this might not be something I really want to do, or this is actually not as profitable as I thought it was going to be, so I might not want to make this the main focus of my homestead, or the main breadwinner at my homestead is this product or service that I thought was going to be profitable. So I mean, it was one of the things prime example, solar, and I was like, yeah, solar is a good thing to start with. This is the next, big thing, to pop off as far as the energy world. And the energy industry is multi-billions, trillions of dollars in the energy industry. And we're going to head that route to renewable energy systems. And, that's one of the things I started in my homestead is that, hey, we're going to be pushing solar energy systems, pushing, installations and so forth. One of the key things about solar energy is the financing. So you get out to rural America, the remote areas of America, there's a handful of, well-to-do people that are building cabins that want solar on their cabin and all that jazz. And, they want to wrap it into a home loan and all that stuff and everything else. But for the most part, most rural Americans and most, homesteaders are starting from scratch. They aren't going in with, $100,000, $200,000 with a bank loan to build a place, because that kind of defeats the purpose of homesteading is, you want to own it outright and not have to worry about a bank foreclosing on you because you're having to make a payment, because you're going to be seasonally working most likely, and your income is going to come seasonally. You'll have parts of the seasons that your business is not booming or your products and services aren't booming. You'll have seasons where you have two more customers than you have products and services. So, like I said, just get that together. Get your products and services together. Get an idea, and not just one. You want a plethora of them. You know what I mean? So and these products and services can spawn off to other products and services. You know what I mean? And that's how it worked out for us. Solar spawned off into renewable energy and all kinds of different aspects and trees and everything else. So it's one of those things where you just gotta, not have your mind set on one thing, not get too much of a big dream in your head, and make sure you validate some of the factors that are that dream. You know what I mean? Before you start heading out there. And that's one thing I suggest. And that'll be the first iteration of our video. It's just, we're gonna go to the marketplace today. We're gonna take some of our Rona-Wands and Rona-Vels, and we're just gonna start, dabble around and see what kind of traffic we get and see what kind of exposure we get. And it's always one key thing about it when it comes to selling anything, it's fucking exposure. You gotta get exposure. You can have the best product, the best budget, the best deal on something, best service, whatever, best quality service, whatever. But if nobody knows about it, nobody's gonna buy it. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna buy something they have no idea exists. You know what I mean? If we knew whatever anti-gravity exists and it was $10 a fucking, a device, people be buying it up. But if nobody knows that it exists, then nobody's gonna buy it. You see what I'm saying? So the more exposure, you just want to, make your presence and, put your ads and put your, logos and, branding out everywhere. So you're seen everywhere and people start to get used to seeing you seeing your products and start to understand what it is you're selling. So I've had customers like, what the fuck are you selling? What is this? What's going on? You know what I mean? They're just like lost, confused. They're like out in third base somewhere. Anyways, stay tuned. We're gonna head out to the marketplace and, start set up shop there and, look around, see what other kind of merchants have, maybe do some bartering and do some, exchanging our goods and services for cash. And then cash facilitates the exchange of goods and services a lot easier when you're, exchanging goods and services that are not in that marketplace. You see what I'm saying? It facilitates the exchange of goods and services in a more efficient manner. I'm not saying you can't barter or just trade straight up goods for goods and services for services. And that's always a good way to do it, just to avoid the whole cash process. But cash is a tool used to facilitate the exchange of goods and services when those goods and services aren't readily available in the bartering market. You see what I'm saying? So stay tuned. We're going to check in here in a second at the marketplace here in Blanca, and they have a marketplace, little kind of like a complete local market, local merchant set up on the weekends. I think Alamosa does too. So whenever you go set up somewhere, set your homestead up somewhere, or even right there in your city or town, you just want to look around newspapers, look around, word of mouth, whatever, where the flea markets are, where the market day at, the small town market days, this and that. Just start. We're developing some goods and services that are beneficial to people who are going to attend those type of fucking events and gatherings, and goods and services that are going to be beneficial to other homesteaders. You know what I mean? Because not every homesteader is going to have the skills and the resources to build and produce everything. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to rely on other homesteaders to produce and provide services that they can't provide themselves from their homestead. So you'll be able to trade those goods and services to other homesteaders and other merchants for the goods and services you need. And that's what it comes down to. Our whole purpose of social interaction and living in cities and towns is to exchange goods and services to improve and enhance our lifestyles. Now, when we get out here, you'll notice that it's a small marketplace. But if you think about it, it's no different than a city. It's just the city has more merchants there and more people, more traffic, that it never stops. So here, the market only lasts 2 days and weekend, and the last few hours each day, Saturday and Sunday for a few hours. I think it's like 8 to 3 or something like that. So, but if we had more merchants and we had more traffic and going to that marketplace, that place would turn into a small city. You see what I'm saying? That's how cities come about. It's because of the exchange of goods and services, and that gets to a point it doesn't slow down, and the lights never go out, the shops never shut down, the people never stop coming and going and buying goods and services, and therefore a city sprouts, a city begins. And the downside about that is some people get addicted to the consumption of goods and services and never leave the damn city, and never go back to the homestead, and never, learn how to produce and manufacture their own goods and services that they can go sell to the marketplace. They're always going to rely on some corporation or some other producer or manufacturer or tradesman to bring their goods and services to this marketplace, and then hire them sitting at the marketplace consuming to help them provide their goods and services from their homestead or from their area of natural resources, which is most corporations will have. Anyways, so if we're getting too far off base there, but you get the gist of it, let's focus on, hey, this is the beginning. If you want to go homestead, which I encourage everyone to fucking homestead, there's no reason for you to sit in those cities. And for most people, with much drama that's going on in cities, and as many people complaining about this and that, and I hate BLM, and I hate cops, and hey, just get the fuck out of there, dude. It's not made for people to sit there and live and consume day in, day out. You know, people got addicted to consumption in the cities, hence, you know, why people are, you know, their health is going to shit and their lives are going to shit, and they retire without shit, is because they're addicted. They're like junkies. That's why I call people Jones junkies, when you just sit there in a city consuming, hyper consuming your entire life, and you end up with nothing. What's the difference between that and a crackhead or a fucking heroin addict? What's the difference? They spend their entire life consuming that substance, and at the end of the day, at the end of their life, they have nothing. And a lot of times that substance kills them. So when people live in the cities, they're just hyper consuming and not producing anything. They're consuming food. They're consuming water, electricity. They need a place to shit, showers, and shave at. So they're creating waste. But they're not producing anything to actually maintain that. So they're relying on the corporations and the bigger merchants and bigger homesteaders, I should say the ranchers, to provide beef. You know what I mean? Big fucking 1,000-acre ranch with, you know, a few thousand head of cattle, you're providing all the beef. You know what I mean? So they're getting away from the idea, hey, I need to be produce something and not rely on the marketplace. And it's not the people's fault, because their baseline has been changed. When you have people that are permanently put into the marketplace, and the marketplace has been around since slave days, so we've used slaves in the marketplace to, you know, facilitate the exchange of goods and services for those merchants. So the merchants in the back of the day used slaves. They say, hey, slave, you're gonna sit here, you're gonna run this register. Slave, you're gonna sit here, you're gonna fucking, you know, sell my goods and services while I go take off and hang out with my family. You see what I'm saying? But over time, slavery ended, and so they look for slave wage people to work at slave wages to sell their goods and services in their retail shops and all sort of shit. So that's where we're at today. That's why 90% of the jobs out there, retail and fast food, are all fucking, you know, minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? And you're living on food stamps or whatever else to make ends meet with minimum wage. And so we'll get into that whole thing later. But like I say, this is homesteading, modern homesteading 101, part 1. Using technology combined with the ancient tradition of homesteading that's worked for mankind throughout history. This is how our fucking country was founded, was homesteaders. They were able to defend off the British fucking Armada, not British Armada, Spanish Armada. But anyways, the British fucking Army and the British Navy, because they homesteaded, because they had their own, they were able to produce their own goods and services. They were able to throw that fucking tea back in the ocean, say, take that shit back to England. We'll make our own goddamn tea, our own homestead. We don't need your shit. You see what I'm saying? So it's all about becoming self-sufficient and more independent, and then you don't have to depend on the government and depend on fucking cities and be stuck like, I can't do shit because I need this grocery store to provide food, I need the cops to provide security. You don't depend on all that. To be able to provide for yourselves, your family, and your kids and your grandkids and their kids and their current kids for century after century after century, just like they do in Europe. So, but yeah, good point. Yeah, Europe did come overpopulated and they expanded over here, but that's the next step, is that we need to get back to homesteading, modern homesteading, using technology, off-the-shelf technology, and start improving our own homesteads to the point that we are able to come together, if not individually, reach for the stars. Start sending out fucking some of these people that don't want to be here, that don't like people, don't like this person, don't like that person, can't get along with nobody. Hey, bud, you can take you and your family, y'all can take off, go to the stars on a spacecraft or whatever. We have the technology to do it. We have the knowledge to do it. There's no reason why we should sit here and wait for NASA and all and SpaceX all that to do it. It's about us doing it. It's all about on YouTube. There's tons of people, tons of intelligent people out there who are developing technologies and developing devices and systems to do all kind of fantastic things. But we got to put the money behind them. We got to fund those people. We got to make those people more self-sufficient and not have to, you know, rely on resources from the market too much, and they can able to go out and get their own resources. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, modern technology, using modern technology, off-shelf technology to create a modern homestead. That will enable us, just like the pioneers in back in the day. They developed things on their property, developed things as they went along, and allow us to not only pioneer into a new frontier like Antarctica, but a new frontier into space. And that's what it's about. So stay tuned. We're checking out the marketplace down here, do a run through down there, and then we're going to head on home and get back to work on some of our wares. I guess I'll take this off the top. But today I think we're going to start our series of videos over modern homesteading 101, part 1 today. Now, you could start at the homestead, but I think the first thing you ought to start doing before you leave the city is to start to develop some sort of business, some sort of produce or something you can create or produce at your homestead, or produce right where you're at in your home, in the city you're living in now. And something you can take to a local market. And that's what the key comes down to. That's where I'm at right now, is a local market here in the city of Blanca, small city. Not many at all, or if any at all, franchises here. No McDonald's, no gas stations like that. Everything's mom and pop. So the nice thing about it, when you have a homestead, is that you're producing goods and services from your homestead that you can bring to the local market in exchange for cash or barter for other goods and services that you need for your homestead. So the key to, one of the biggest benefits of having a homestead is to be able to have something, one, that lasts forever. Your kids pass down generation to generation. You look in Europe, there's homesteads that have been around for centuries, that pass down to family members and family throughout the family. So, and you think about it that way, and then the aspect that, hey, homestead, you're producing goods and services for your family. And those excess goods and services you will take to the market in exchange for cash or other goods and services. And it'll be a modern homestead. We're going to obviously incorporate technology. So with the technology we have today, we have our Ronavels and we have our Rona wands. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with those two devices. We've already done quite a few reviews on them. If you aren't familiar with them yet, go ahead and check out the videos there. I'll have some links down at the bottom of the video, or just go ahead and look at our channel. And stay subscribed, like and subscribe our channel, and you'll stay up to date on all our videos, all our new modern tech from our modern homestead. So like I was saying, one of the first things you want to do is to start developing a product or service that you can provide from your homestead, or you can literally start right there in the city you're living in. There's always flea markets, there's always some kind of other markets that go on, and even decide to do those brick and mortar, but I don't suggest brick and mortar, especially these days. Most things you want to do as far as a storefront is online, or like I say, just local marketplaces, and that's where it starts, is local marketplaces, online marketplaces, and go from there. But stay tuned. We'll do another video. Next part, we'll start talking about the homestead and actually what it takes to get started on a homestead, and actually set up your amenities, set up your foundation for shelter and all other things. But key one things, like I say, this is 101 part 1, and you want to focus on developing your own product or service before you even strike out into the wilderness or into rural America to start your own homestead.